And there's a lot of confusion about it. Like Joe said at the very beginning, before we started our call, that men don't think they need that. And he's going to explain why they do. But he's also going to explain why some people, first of all, he's going to talk about the product, but he's also going to explain why some people just seem to only be able to take one. Some will take 6. It depends, right? And he's going to get into all of that as well. So if you've got questions for Joe as he's speaking, you can put them in the chat room, or we'll open it up for questions at the end of the call. How does that sound? So Joe, I'm going to turn it over to you. I hope I didn't mute your line. If I did, please unmute it.
I've unmuted myself.
Okay, good. All right. Thank you so much. I'm just going to turn it over to you. Everybody, this is Joe Woolsey, a new member, but very familiar with our product line. And we just are so grateful that you have decided to come back to Evolve and come back to your home. He used to be in Evolve many years ago. And we're delighted to have you. He's from Texas. And I'm just going to turn it over to you, Joe.
Well, thank you, Kathy. And if I need to speak up or anything, please let me know. So, yeah, we're going to be talking about Evolve's Balance product. And this product's primary component is Dioscorea villosa. Now, Dioscorea villosa is commonly referred to as wild yam or sometimes wild Mexican yam. And in point of fact, it actually grows on every continent except for, obviously, Antarctica. But it grows wild virtually everywhere. And in fact, its use for support of the endocrine system has been documented going back over 6,000 years. And every native culture in the world has used this product. Typically, they would just chew on it. These are little tubers. It literally is like a yam, and it's a little tuber that will just grows naturally in the soil, and they'll just pull it up and clean it off and start chewing it. So why would they do that? Well, it's like I said, for endocrine support. So what are we talking about? Well, your endocrine system is your hormonal system. And the crucial thing here, and like Kathy said, referring to something I had said earlier, I've had men who literally said, "Well, I don't need that. I'm a man. I don't need that." Well, I'm here to tell you, and most of you women would probably agree, men do need hormonal support, because what that does is it helps to regulate mood. It helps to support your physiology as well as your psychology, your emotional landscape. It will help support that. Now, how does it do that? Well, of course, hormones are crucial for the body to be able to regulate itself. And so what Balance does, it helps to keep your hormone system balanced. And how it does that is it supplies the precursors that are necessary for your body to make all of the hormones. Now, both men and women, we all make the same. Last I've looked, it said 87 hormones. Now, I've had men go, "Well, I don't make estrogen." Well, I assure you, you do if you're a man, but not as much as a woman does. On the other hand, women make and need testosterone. And in fact, the fastest growing form of hormonal treatment in America for women is testosterone replacement therapy. And the reason is because testosterone, other than the thing that everybody knows and giggles about, testosterone does a lot more than just that for the body. The main thing, testosterone helps to regulate energy. It helps to give somebody more energy, more stamina, more ability to work. There's a lot of good things that testosterone does for people. And so women need that every bit as much as men do. Now, they don't need as much testosterone. In fact, they need right at about 1/10 the amount that men do. But they still do need it. And we still make all the same hormones. Or that is, we should. Because here's the thing. In healthy cultures around the world, what we find is that the average amongst these healthy cultures is about 750 to 800 milligrams, or 850, somewhere in that range, milligrams of these hormonal precursors per person per day, okay? And that's what's in their diet. They get about that many of these hormonal precursors in their diet. Unfortunately, the average American diet, what's often referred to as the standard American diet, also known as SAD, because it really is, only supplies about 3 to 4 milligrams, maybe 5. And so obviously we're not getting enough of these precursors, and we need them every day. And so what happens is, imagine if you're going to be building a building, and you've got the site is all ready and prepared for the building, and you've got the plans in hand, and you're ready to go, and on the day that building is supposed to commence, the truck shows up with all your building materials on it, except it doesn't have all of them. In fact, it only has about 10% of them. And you go, well, what am I supposed to do with this? I've got to have this building finished today. And the guy driving the truck says, well, this is all I'm bringing you. This is it. So you've got some hard decisions to make. What size building do you build? Or do you only build part of the building? Or what are you going to do? Well, that's what the decision your body literally has to make every day, because it's not getting enough of these precursors to be able to build your hormones. And it's got to build them every day, every minute of every day. Some part of your endocrine system is producing hormones, if not every part. And it's got to have them. Your body's needing them. You've got receptors out there that need these hormones. And if you can't make them, then your body freaks out. And then that causes stressors. And your body gets stressed, and you get stressed, and you get a little flustered, and it's not a good thing. And so that's why I say that both men and women both need this product. And if you live in North America, if you can hear my voice, your endocrine system is under attack. It's under attack because everywhere we turn, there are hormone disruptors in the environment. And so these throw up a roadblock to prevent you from being able to produce the hormones, for your body being able to utilize them. And so there's these roadblocks that are being thrown up, and you're having to fight your way through those. And so that's why you need balance, because balance will supply these hormonal precursors so that your body doesn't have to make that hard decision, because it supplies almost 900 milligrams of these hormonal precursors that help your body to be able to create all the hormones you need. Now, what do hormones do for your body? I mean, we know a little bit, but there's a lot more. So you've got the primary component, like I said, is Dioscorea villosa, or in point of fact, it's an extract from that called diosnogen. So it is it's kind of a precursor for many of your hormones. There are other components in this as well. And the other thing is, as we talked last week, there's now the ace-mannan in all of the products. Now, there's only 10 milligrams in this product, but that's enough to ensure that you're going to get the maximum benefit from the other components that are in the balance. Okay? So the thing is that, what does it do for you? Well, like I've already said, it improves your hormonal balance. That alone would be enough. That alone would literally make your life a whole lot better. And in virtually every way, you're going to feel more at peace. You're going to sleep better. You're going to wake up with more energy. You're going to just feel better. You're going to feel happier. You're going to feel more in control of your life. But it's not just that. This Diascorea villosa will actually help you to maintain normal blood pressure levels, to maintain normal blood sugar levels, because remember, the doctor that you see if you have diabetes is your endocrinologist. Okay, this is an endocrine support product. And so the reason you have to go see him is because the primary organ that's involved with diabetes is the pancreas, because that's where the beta cells are made, and that's where your body produces what helps your body to regulate, produces insulin. The beta cells produce the insulin to help regulate blood sugar. And so anybody who has any form is pre-diabetic, diabetic, which is a huge percent of the population, they're going to do better on the balance. It helps, again, as I've already said, with stress. It helps with inflammation. How could it help with that? Because when you're stressed, you produce the cortisol hormone, which can, even though it's supposed to help regulate inflammation, if your body's using it because of stress-related issues, other parts of the body that need the inflammation regulation won't be getting it. And so it helps with that. It helps with adrenal fatigue. And this is a huge issue. Some people will, I've been contacted by a lot of people who say, Joe, my doctor tells me I have Addison's disorder. What is that? And I'll go, well, it's a way of talking about adrenal fatigue. But adrenal fatigue rarely begins in the adrenals. It almost always begins in the thyroid. But both the adrenals and the thyroid are part of the endocrine system. And so this will help with that. It'll help with even thinning hair. It'll help with osteoporosis. Why would it help with osteoporosis? Because think of a train that has the little open cars to carry coal or rocks or whatever. Well, the cars that carry the calcium and other minerals to the bones are these hormones. And so again, it'll help with osteoporosis. It'll help to regulate fat metabolism. It'll even help with cancer cell proliferation, and especially in any sort of hormone-regulated cancer. So we do know that there are forms of like breast cancer that are estrogen-related. This will actually help to downregulate that estrogen to help to slow down the effect of the cancer. And then naturally, men and women, it will help with a declining libido. And that will certainly help to change your stress levels. So these are all good reasons to take this product. And it really does work because we're not supplying hormones. What we're supplying are the hormonal precursors. The body hasn't forgotten how to make the hormones. It knows how, but if it doesn't get a sufficient amount of the materials, then it simply cannot make the hormones. And that's what's going on with the vast majority of Americans. Now, look around. Think back to the 1970s. I remember a popular TV show. It was called Three's Company, and it had two girls and a guy who were sharing an apartment, but so that the landlords didn't think anything was crazy, the guy pretended to be gay. Now, there were two girls on the show, and people would often refer to them instead of by their names as the skinny one and the fat one. Go back and watch that show now. The one who was, quote, the fat one, she wasn't fat at all. She was almost rail thin compared to the average American today. And yet back then, they called her the fat one. Here's the deal. We've gotten a whole lot fatter. And the reason is because we drink all this bottled water and other liquids that come in bottles. We drink, we eat foods that aren't really food. They're food-like substances that are sold to us as food, but they're not food. And they come packaged in plastic again. All of these things, these plastics, they give off into the food. It leaches into the products in it, whether it's actually food or not. It leaches these hormonal disruptors into it. Even just breathing the air, because what's the one thing that's in the air almost everywhere? Silicone. Where does it come from? Tires. As tires break down, as we drive, the tires are throwing off minute particles of silicone, which we breathe. These are all hormonal disruptors. Everywhere we go, there are hormonal disruptors that are being thrown in our path like obstacles that we have to deal with and that our body has to deal with. And part of the way our body deals with it is by putting on weight, because our body doesn't know any other way to deal with it. And so that's what happens. The body produces more cortisol. That causes us to retain fat, and therefore we're fatter. And that's just one of the reasons, but that is a huge reason. And so that's just one of the many reasons that this product is so important. There's not a human being alive in North America who's beyond puberty who couldn't use this product. Okay? Now, I'm very cautious about recommending it to someone who isn't yet to puberty, but once they're through puberty, absolutely, or even while they're going through puberty, even one capsule a day could be beneficial. And but certainly, now I'm going to get to the thing that Kathy also said. Why will some people do great with one, and some people will need 3 or 4 or 5, even more a day? Because we all, A, have different levels of stress. We all, B, get exposed to different levels of hormone disruptors, and we all, C, take in different amounts of the hormonal precursors in our diet. And those aren't by any means all the reasons, but those account for probably 80 to 90% at least of all of the reasons why one person may only need 1 or 2, and someone else may need 3 or 4 or 5 or even 6. But and so the thing is that that you do need to kind of play with it and see what's the right amount for you. Now, the other thing is when to take it, because I don't think the Balance has this information, but I can assure you, having taken Diascoria villosa products for over 15 years, it's best taken on an empty stomach. Unlike many other products that are best taken with food, a Diascoria villosa product, in order for it to properly support the endocrine system, is best taken on an empty stomach. Let me tell you how I take it. I literally take 2 first thing in the morning. As soon as I wake up, I keep them by my bedside. I have a cap from another supplement bottle that I've recycled, but I kept the cap, and I'll put a couple of them in the cap. So as soon as I wake up, I roll over, I take them, and I always have a glass of water by the bed, and I take them very first thing in the morning so that I get them working right away. Okay? Now, usually 2, or if I've had a rough night, if I didn't sleep well, I'll take a 3rd. But if I slept well, if I woke up feeling good, I'll take 2 right away. But let's say that I decide I need more. Then I'll take those sometime during the morning, and then I'll even maybe take 1 sometime during the afternoon, especially let's say that I'm going to be doing a meeting that night, or I'm going to be flying somewhere. Any number of reasons that I would take additional beforehand to make sure that I'm okay. But you want to take it on an empty stomach. So the definition of an empty stomach, at least in terms of the Balance, is at least 20 to 30 minutes before eating or 2 hours afterward. So let's say you're going to eat at 7 o'clock. So if you take them by 6:30 or even 6:40, that's fine. If you're going to eat at 8, then you take them at 7:30 to 7:40. okay? Or, again, if you're going to eat at 8, then you wait until 10 or 10:30 to take them again. And that's going to give you the best result. And I do find it doesn't say anything about this in the instructions or the product information sheet, but I find taking 2 first thing in the morning really gives me a great jump start on the day. It helps to fuel me and to fuel my endocrine system to get me off to a good start. So anyway, I think I've babbled about enough about this, but I hope everybody kind of gets it and understands what I'm talking about here. And that, well, let me just turn it back over to Kathy, and she'll open the floor for questions.
Absolutely, Joe. That was amazing. I learned a lot. And the clarity between, just talking about hormone disruptors and hormone precursors really helps me to understand why we all need to have this product. So there's a couple of questions that have come in on the chat room, and I'll just throw this out to you. So Deborah Ferliger from Philadelphia has asked, what foods are also good for creating healthy hormonal precursors? And then her second part is, she normally takes Limitless and Immune on an empty stomach in the morning. Can she take 2 Balance at the same time?
Sure. Yeah, she can take it. Yeah, there's no contraindication between any of our products. And so, yeah. Now, and yeah, that's fine with those. Those really don't, it doesn't matter. Those don't need to be taken on an empty stomach. If that's when it's convenient for you to take them, great. And certainly you can take this along with those. You shouldn't experience any bad effect. And you could very well experience an immediate additional benefit. And I'm sorry, what was the other part of that question?
Do you know of any foods that are also good for creating healthy?
Oh, well, yeah. First of all, almost any root crop. So, and of course, wild Mexican yam is a root crop. Just regular old yams is also very good as any tuber. But any root crop even bigger than that. So turnips, beets. The beets are amazing, by the way. Beets are one of the primary components of Limitless, and it's beet is very high in the arginine and citrulline that are necessary for the creation of nitric oxide in the bloodstream, which is what makes the blood vessels expansive and elastic, and lowers blood pressure and increases blood flow. And so, but any of those yams, there's a little yam you can get, especially if you're fortunate enough to live anywhere that they have an Asian market. They sell these little bitty yams that maybe are just a little bit bigger than my fist, and I'm an average sized guy, I guess. And those yams are basically the Asian version of the Dioscorea villosa. And or any place that has a Hispanic market, which we have a number of those here in Texas, and they'll have the wild Mexican yam for sale in those as well. But anything like that will be great, and anything that comes prepackaged in plastic, avoid if possible. How about that? That's an even better thing actually to do, is to try to avoid the hormonal disruptors.
Yeah, that's great advice. Thank you so much, Joe. Another question is, having grass-fed or just having butter with MCT oil in the morning with a coffee or a tea, does that, the stomach is not empty, or is it considered still empty? Well,
if you take it, like I said, immediately when you get out of bed, by the time you've made your coffee, that'll be fine. Okay. Especially if you're going to make the coffee and then blend the butter in it, that'll take at least 15 minutes. Yeah, you'll be fine.
Okay, that's good advice. Thank you. Also, another question from MJ is, what about high blood pressure? Can you talk to that? And also for women who have trouble getting pregnant, can you speak to those issues?
Exactly, and thank you, MJ. Yeah, first of all, blood pressure, I did mention, was also certainly positively impacted by the Balance product. And it does that through a number of things. But again, because the Dioscorea villosa is a root crop, it does supply some of the arginine and citrulline that are essential for the body's creation of nitric oxide, which is not a hormone. It's a blood gas. So, on these TV shows in the ER where they're racing through the hall and the doctor will say, I need a full blood workup with blood gases stat. And what he's saying is, I want to see if his blood has enough nitric oxide in it, because one of the things that they can do is supply him with more citrulline and arginine to increase his production of his own nitric oxide. And so that's an important thing. And so that through that method, again, any of the roots, but beet is even better. It's the best source for that. Then that will do that. Now, the other thing means that this will work synergistically with the Limitless product. Okay, so take Limitless and this, and you're going to get a double benefit. The other thing is pregnancies. And I've worked with this Dioscorea villosa for years, and with the Ace Mannin for years. And one of the things that we found was that people who had trouble conceiving, and they would go to the doctor, and the doctor says, well, there's nothing wrong with you. And the thing is that what happened is, quite often, my belief, and it's been largely borne out through evidence, if not through any testing, is that these people had an issue that was subclinical, meaning it didn't raise to the level of being something that showed up on a test, but it still wasn't right, and so the body wouldn't conceive. And so we would tell both parents to take the Dioscorea villosa and in this case, I would recommend Balance and Immune, and probably also the CBD oil with Immune, because they'll be getting the maximum benefit, and that will help to regulate the body's hormone levels and everything, so that whatever it was that was affecting them, preventing them from being able to conceive, and yet was subclinical, meaning it didn't show up on a test, it will fix that. But we even had people who the test would tell them, well, you're just never going to be able to have children, and they would get started taking the products, not even thinking about ever having children, and lo and behold, they're pregnant.
Wow, amazing, right? I mean, it's just amazing when we give our bodies what the body is looking for.
Exactly. Our body knows what to do with this stuff, okay? We're not supplying it anything that's crazy or insane or that is synthetic. We're giving it the stuff that it knows what to do with and saying, here, go for it, fix yourself, and it will.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Now, I've had several friends who have been helped tremendously with night sweats. Can you talk about, why this is and the impact the Balance is having from your perspective?
Well, night sweats is a hormonal issue. And also, let's just go ahead and go there. Menopause. I had a girlfriend who was going through menopause, and this was during the summer, and she would come to my place and just lay directly in front of an air conditioning vent and just let it blow right on her because she was just so hot. And I'm like, try this. She goes, no, I've tried all that before. But here's the other thing. And so I'm really glad you brought this up. The big deal about this product, as opposed to other products that are out there, and the Dioscorea products first hit the market about 25 years ago. Back then, this is before TV infomercials. I listened to a radio station that did a lot of radio infomercials on the weekends. and they were talking about a wild Mexican yam cream that you'd rub on the fatty areas of maybe your arms and your inner thighs and all, and the body would absorb it transdermally and would put it to work. And you know what I found is that some of them were good and some of them were total crap. Well, here's the truth of the matter. The difference is, and so if you're thinking, well, I've tried a Diascorea villosa product and it didn't work, I believe you. But it's not that it didn't work because Diascorea villosa doesn't work. It didn't work because the product wasn't stabilized and standardized. So what do I mean by that? First of all, when they harvest these wild Mexican yams, they need to do something to make sure, because the second it's harvested, the second it's out of the ground, the second you cut into it, you start losing some potency. And one of the ugly little things about any natural product is every time you process it, you're going to lose some amount of potency. And so the proper use of this and what is done with the Balance product is that the Diascorea villosa is immediately stabilized, and because it's been stabilized, then they can process it and get a standardized measurement of the potency, okay? And so then it goes through quality assurance, and they make sure that every batch that comes in meets their quality standards. And what they're looking for is both any impurities in the product and the potency. How potent is it? And if it doesn't meet the minimum standard for potency, it's refused. And they say, you're going to send us another batch because this one didn't meet the standards. And so the suppliers are very cognizant of that. And so that's one of the things that I love about Evolve. They literally, I went on the website, they publish the certificate of analysis on the CBD oil. And they have it on everything, but that's the thing that everybody's concerned about right now. So they actually publish it. They have the latest certificate of analysis on the CBD oil is on the website. But they do this for every product, but they don't publish it because it's not that big of a deal. But this is standardized and stabilized. And so that means that every capsule in every bottle today, tomorrow, next week, next year will give you the same level of benefit. And that's of vital importance because you need to know that taking a capsule of it today and taking another from another bottle a month from now and another from another lot number 6 months from now, that it's all going to be the same level of benefit. Now, that isn't cheap. And it's not easy. It does cost more. And so people go, well, I've paid less. Yes, I'm sure you have. And you've gotten a lot less benefit as well. I was with a company that one time went out and just as an illustration, they decided to buy every type of ginkgo biloba product that they could find. They didn't sell a ginkgo product, but they just wanted to try and find out, because there's a known functional component in ginkgo biloba, and it's pretty easy to test for. And so they found 36 different brand names, different manufacturers of ginkgo biloba on the market. And so they bought all 36 of them. And then 3 months later, they went out and bought the same 36, and they made sure it was different lot numbers. So, so it wasn't the same lot, different lot numbers, different different lots, but the same product ostensibly. And they measured the first one, and what they found was that only 6 of them had at least the label specified amount of the functional component. 30 of them had less. A few of them even had 0. Hear me on this. A few of them had 0 of the functional component. None. People paid good money to buy a product that had 0 functional component. Okay? And only 6 of them had at least the stated amount. But one or two of those had tremendously more. In fact, one of them had 1,000%. So 10 times the stated amount of the functional component. Then in the next batch, they found pretty much the same numbers. They found that some had none, and that again, it was 6 that had at least again, the label stated amount of the functional component. But here's the thing. It was a completely different 6.
You know, it's incredible. You really have to know your supplier and your provider. And I think that all of us on the call here tonight really recognize the quality, the standards that we've got in place. It's a product that you can recommend proudly and stand behind. And I know I do with conviction. I know what we've got. And